It's time to boldly go, where no man has gone before. Live long and prosper, for we are going to do and talk about the original Star Trek film, the motion picture. Okay, I'm not gonna do that whole spaghetti throughout the whole review, but yeah, today's movie is going to be Star Trek, the motion picture. You know what? Just get the title sequence out of the way. Oh, okay. So, what's to say about Star Trek? Star Trek the motion picture, Star Trek the TV show, Star Trek the Next Generation, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek into Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Enterprise, Star Trek Picard, or Star Trek something. I don't know. There's a lot of Star Trek related material. Yeah. And you know what's more crazy? It's bigger than Star Wars because of the fandom. It's been around longer than Star Wars. It has a bigger fan base. I mean, hell, with Star Wars, it's dying out because Disney bought the property and fucked it up. Yeah, yeah. Never ever trust Disney to actually do anything that's popular anymore because they basically find a way to fuck it up. And yes, I'm growing my goatee back because next month is Halloween, and I got a party to go to. So well, it's a couple of parties. So I figured maybe I should go back as Jesse Stone. You know, now that I said that out loud, I probably should do a Jesse Stone movie next month too. You know, it'll be kind of like out of the way. Because it's a Tom Selleck movie, and I'm playing the character. Well, anyway, what can be said about Star Trek, the motion picture? Or should I say, Star Trek, the slow motion picture? Oh, you see this? Yeah, it's filled with water. I had to get through three of these things watching this thing the other night, filled with coffee. Yeah, I because it was slow and tedious. Okay, I guess I can basically say this. The first movie didn't actually have the best reputation. All it was just a 2.5 hour long variation of the original show itself. Not even 2.5 hours, supposed to, but there is actually a director's cut version that's actually been released on Blu-ray recently that actually has all the scenes that this version doesn't exactly have. Yeah, there's actually several different versions of the movie itself. This version I discovered was actually the original theatrical cut version that was released in theaters back in 1979. There was also a made for TV. There was also a made for television version that actually was released later on VHS back in the 1980s. So, and there's so many deleted scenes, and it actually put more scene. They actually made more scenes for that movie, for that version too. That ironically, that's the one that was actually released on VHS, and that one's actually kind of hard to come by. I originally had that film on VHS with my family a long time ago. Ugh. And there's also the director's cut version, which of course actually somehow melded this version and the other one together. But the biggest improvement is we actually get to see the intruder spaceship coming to Earth. So yeah, some CGI stuff as well. That being said, let's get started with Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Where do we begin? We begin with the Next Generation theme song. Yeah, I'm not even joking. Like, if you ever watch Star Trek: The Next Generation, they're using the theme song in the opening and ending credits. In fact, it's the theme song of the entire movie. So, and keep this in mind. This came out in 1979. Next Generation came out in the mid late 80s. So, okay, it's because of the fact that Star Trek actually used a different theme than the rest of the movies. They used this theme on Next Generation. Yeah, I don't know. I just have to get that out of the way. So, the movie basically follows the plot of the crew of the Starship Enterprise. Here's the plot of the movie: a very powerful alien intruder that's hidden within of a massive cloud that's supposed to be the size of like two Jupiters at this point because it's fucking massive. Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah. So apparently, this massive cloud is actually the power. It's actually putting off a lot of power because of an alien spaceship that's inside the cloud. It's on its course heading to Earth, and Starfleet calls upon the Enterprise to come out of retirement and take on the intruder and save the world. That's the basic premise. Yeah. So much so that I just realized there's actually two that they actually took the elements of two Star Trek episodes of the original show for this movie. Kind of ridiculous, but I'm not even going to bother naming the episodes. I'll tell you one of the names of the episodes: The Doomsday Machine. Anyway, so so without further ado, let's get started. The movie basically begins, of course, with the Star Trek theme song from the Next Generation that will later be used for the Next Generation. So just get that out of the way. And so we are introduced to a massive cloud that's actually entering into Klingon territory. And we see three Klingon battle cruisers come up to it, though, and they see the cloud is actually entered into their domain, and they can tell it's a very powerful cloud, and it's a massive energy field from it that's actually more or less artificial. So they know for a fact that there's a spaceship within it. And so they try to fight off the cloud using their photon torpedoes, and they won't, and they basically get annihilated. Yeah, a space station called the Epsilon actually wants picking up the Klingons' distress call, and they see what happens. Like literally, the three Klingon cruisers all get destroyed because of these massive spaceship-sized plasma torpedoes that just hit the damn things. They actually, to be fair, if you look closely, we do actually see what happens. Like the Cleon cruise, the last one, actually shoots a torpedo from the rear and actually hits the massive torpedo, the massive plasma field, and it gets absorbed. And it continues, not even slowing down, hits the shield, the force field around the ship, and just destroys the whole thing, eradicating it completely. And so they realize this massive cloud with enormous power is heading towards Earth. Oh dear. Meanwhile, back on Vulcan, we see Commander Spock actually going through a ritual to purge all of his emotions. But the thing is, you must keep this in mind. He is half Vulcan. He is, of course, half human. Played, of course, by Leonard Nimoy. Hey, come on. Okay, guys, look. I'm I'm holding back all my nerdom at this point. All right, seriously, it's taking me a long time to actually get through a Star Trek movie. Yeah, seriously, I am over 300 episodes in, and I'm finally doing a Star Trek film. So keep that in mind. So Spock actually is actually about to finish off the ritual, but he senses the alien presence that's actually heading towards Earth, and of course he stops the ritual in order to and wants to pursue the alien presence. Meanwhile, back on Earth, James Kirk is no longer the captain of the Enterprise. No, he is now an admiral, and he can have so many meetings with Starfleet Command, and Starfleet Command gave him back the Enterprise because he's the most experienced captain in the field at the moment. All other ships are nowhere near Earth, so they decide to let him take care of this problem. However, there's some problems along with the Enterprise. For example, it's been refitted. You should know by looking at the Enterprise right here. It looks very similar to the Enterprise on the TV show, and there's the Klingon battle cruiser right behind it. But the problem with the Enterprise is it's actually been redesigned, it's refitted, and of course it looks much more. Well, actually, it looks a lot better. Yeah, it's more modernly updated, and it's a little bit more. It's a lot more powerful than the original one was. It's still, and yes, to all you Star Trek fan nerds out there, it's basically a refit Constitution class. Yeah, and no, they don't. They don't bring in the Excelsior class until the third movie. So yeah, so don't even bother. Anyways, Kirk actually assigns a new science officer, and and gets transported to a space station, which is close to where the Enterprise is, because it turns out it's not fully operational yet, and it has to leave it under 12 hours. Uh, so yeah, because of the fact that the alien cloud is getting closer, he actually the Starfleet's urging them to actually get the Enterprise out of there so they can actually go forth and stop it. So, oh boy! And also, the Enterprise is now under the new command of Captain Decker, William Decker, who you may remember as the father from Seventh Heaven. Yeah, this is actually one. I think one of his earlier roles, which is a little bit weird considering that considering that the mother from Seventh Heaven is actually in the fourth film, and she's also the mother in the original Chucky films. Who knew? Who knew? Oh, and here's a fun fact: Kirstie Alley was in the second movie as a Vulcan, and she made fun of him being a Vulcan in the third Look Who's Talking film. Yeah, what are the odds of that? Anyways, so Kirk actually meets up with Scotty, and Scotty takes him over there, and Scotty tells him everything that what's wrong with the Enterprise. And of course, they're not going to be fully operational, but of course, they have to hasten everything because the cloud is going to be coming towards Earth. And of course, Captain, they actually make a long entrance trying to show off the entire ship. And keep this in mind, this is after 2001: A Space Odyssey with all the slow shots. So yeah, it's like they were trying to capture all of this in all of its glory. So yeah, they were trying to clearly copy that. So only Star Trekify it. So yeah, Kirk actually wants to gain back on the Enterprise. It's brand new. It's been refitted, and he meets the original crew like Uhura, Chekhov, Sulu. Yeah, the original members are all there. Well, with some new crew members, and they just got the orders that Kirk is going to be in command. And Decker is down in engineering helping Scotty, thinking he's still in command. So Kirk tells him that, sorry, well, I'm taking over. It's a military thing, and I'm an admiral. I don't rank you. So sorry. So but Kirk keeps him on as a commander because of the fact he actually knows the new Enterprise better than Kirk. And after that, we get a little teleporter malfunction when the new science officer gets killed. I don't know why. They just needed to do some special effects shit that was all sci-fi related. So now that he lost the science officer, Kirk actually promoted Decker to science officer, not just commander, but also science officer. Afterwards, they actually have a meeting in the recreation hall, and the entire crew actually is now aware of the intruder spaceship. I mean, the intruder cloud, and they actually get a call from the Epsilon station, which the cloud happens to be near it. And there's some type of a signal actually going straight to the cloud that's actually coming from the cloud. And the Epsilon station, they were examining it. The cloud thought it was whatever alien ship is in there. The cloud thought it was was actually thought it was a sign of an attack. So it destroys the entire Epsilon station in a sci-fi-ish way. And keep this in mind: the entire crew of the Enterprise just saw the whole thing happen, and they're all freaking the hell out. So what they do? They get the ship ready, and they depart in less than an hour. They depart slow mo style. And of course, we're introduced to but before that, we're introduced to two other characters. Lieutenant Ilea, of course, the ball chick here. She's also a Delta navigator. So, and it turns out she actually had a relationship with Decker. So yeah, there's a bit of like a romance thing going on there. And of course, we got Dr. Leonard McCoy. Yes, Leonard McCoy is back. Good old Bones, is great to see you again. Even though he didn't really want to come back, it's pretty funny. I got a laugh out of it. Give me a break, all right? It's a slow ass movie. So anyway, they leave space dock and they go straight into the warp. They go straight out to warp 7, and they get caught into a wormhole. Yeah, I mean seriously, it's like what? Not even 5 minutes. They have another emergency. So okay, you know what? I'm not gonna lie here, but yeah, Decker. I know you're in charge of actually refitting the Enterprise, and it hasn't been fully tested out yet. But what the fuck is wrong with the Enterprise? I mean, seriously, ever since, like, okay, even before they left space, like, they had problems before, they had a ton of problems with the communication and the teleport and the transporters, and now they're stuck in a fucking wormhole after they just go into warp speed? What the hell? Ugh. We get an entire slow mo sequence that just goes on for an eternity. Where, of course, Kirk says use the fire with phasers. Decker actually countermands him and says use photon torpedoes, and this goes on for a while. It goes on for a while. I actually had to hit the speed button on it to make sure it just gets through real quickly. So yeah, they destroy it with the photon torpedoes. Kirk actually calls Will out on the whole thing, but it turns out the reason why he did it is because, however, Scotty tells everybody that it turns out that the warp field wasn't fully secured, hence why they went to a wormhole. Wow, that's great. And to make matters even worse, that the phaser fires actually goes right through the warp field, goes right into the warp field. So it's powered by the warp engines. Oh, gee, that's nice to know, you jackass. But there's no need to fear. A courier ship comes by to drop off their final crew member. Mr. Spock is back, and the crew's a little concerned of why he's even there. They're confused, but he actually comes back to being reinstated as a science officer and to help Mr. Scott and get the warp field back online. And so it has. And then afterwards, Mr. Spock tells Kirk why he's really there. That he's actually interested to find the intruder himself. So he hitched a ride with the Enterprise, and he's also concerned for the personnel of the ship because, well, it's not the same personnel, but the crew's still his friends. Do the math. They use warp speed to actually get to the cloud, and well, yeah, the cloud actually sends out the exact same signal, and they decide not to do any scans or anything because the cloud would have saw that as a sign of aggression. So they tried using. So the cloud sends a signal, but thanks to Mr. Spock, he was able to find out it's a signal. But the thing is, but unfortunately, the Enterprise doesn't actually get the signal in time, and the cloud fires a torpedo, one of its plasma torpedoes. However, the ship actually survives. Yeah, it actually hits the shield and it dissipates. Problem is, yes, let's just be fair that the Enterprise's shields have been upgraded. This is an upgraded Enterprise, so it's a lot more powerful than its original design. So the refit Constitution class is a lot more powerful, and putting it this way, it can pretty much take out like 12 of the original Constitution class ships easily. This is a refit design, so yeah, it's a lot more powerful. However, the shields drop like 70%, so they can't withstand another attack. Thanks to Decker, Spock was able to find out what the actual frequency was, and the reason why they couldn't actually, understand it is because the alien technology is just way too advanced for the ship to even counterman it. Uh, and so anyway, another torpedo comes to try to hit them, but thanks to Spock at the last minute, the signal gets through, and the torpedo pew, dissipates. And so they decide to go into the cloud to meet the intruder, to see what was inside of it. And we get is a weird artistic light show that goes on for like 5 minutes. And keep in mind, the cloud is massive. I mean, okay, I know the Enterprise itself is actually massive itself, but the cloud itself is even more massive. All right, and it's actually developed because of the energy field that's inside the cloud. So yeah, whatever is in there is actually dissipating all this energy. So anyway, they go straight to the cloud and a killer ass light show that we get. But after several minutes, we do see the intruder spaceship. And I'm just going to show you what the damn thing actually looks like on here. Hmm. All right. Ah, shit. Too dark. All right. There you go. See that? That's what it looks like. And by the way, here's a bit of a fun fact. This is not exactly accurate though, but this is how big the ship. You see that little white speck there? That's the Enterprise. Yeah. Now imagine that. See how massive the ship is? But here's the thing: the Enterprise is actually in a distance. When it's actually closer, it is about 100 times smaller. Yeah, keep that in mind. So the ship is fucking massive. Yeah, and they spent like another 10 minutes going around, looking at the ship and awestruck of how massive this fucking thing is. It's only about the size of a planet. That's how big it is. I mean, shit, puts the Death Star to shame. Actually, joking aside, if the Empire even decided if this ship was ever in Star Wars, and the Empire decided to either use the Death Star on it, or the massive Starkiller planet, or the even the any of these superstar destroyers or whatever, this thing would actually easily destroy them. No joke. That's how powerful this fucking ship is. So they make their way in the behind the actual spaceship, and a light energy probe comes in and attacks Ilea. Well, actually, it doesn't really attack her. It actually it tries to scan the ship's computer and actually trying to download everything from the computer to find out everything about Earth itself. Until Mr. Adams trying to take over the computer system, but Mr. Spock moves Mr. Decker. Mr. Decker actually sees that. Mr. Spock does something we don't expect him to do. Pushes Decker out of the way, smashes the computer system, and the probe attacks Spock. And then it attacks Ilea, actually teleporting her out of there. But supposedly we thought it kills her, but yeah, supposedly she's dead. Okay. And of course, a tractor beam from the ship itself drags the Enterprise within the ship. Because no matter how much they control, Kirk tells them not to actually, try to force a way out of it. Because let's face it, this ship is just too powerful even for the Enterprise. So we're pretty much at their mercy. They're inside now. They are literally inside the ship itself, and then, like I said, it's massive. All right. Hey, seriously, this is like ridiculous. How big is this ship? Well, I'll put it this way. Scientifically, and this is probably without an exaggeration, but sure. But for Star Trek fans, I think this is kind of an exaggeration. Maybe not, but I'm pretty sure you could probably fit like maybe a dozen Borg cube ships in there, and this is in the rear section of the ship. And if you don't know anything about how big a Borg cube ship is, yeah, those things are huge. Like one ship is like bad. Well, one ship is bad enough, but like seriously, that ship is big enough to actually hold like a dozen Borg cubes. Just a dozen Borg cubes in the rear section, and that's not even like what 25%. That's not even like what maybe 10% or 20% of the ship. It's massive. Yikes! So, hey. Anyway, they got another intruder alert, and it's Ilea again. Only it's not Ilea. This is a bit of a confusing one. In fact, just give me a minute. So anyway, they take a look at Ilea, they have her examined, and the coin discovers it's not Ilea, it's a probe. The probe basically explains that Ilea, well, her body was actually used to actually interact with the carbon-based units. And she says she's there to observe for V'ger. And we discover V'ger is the name of the alien space, is the captain of the alien spaceship. And of course, during the examination, Decker comes in and she says Decker, not Decker unit, because she calls everybody else Kirk unit, Spock unit, McCoy unit. Pretty much she calls everybody unit except for Decker. So it's clear to say that even though technically that Ilea was probably killed, her body was cloned and her memories remained in the probe. Or maybe or most likely this is what actually happened. V'ger actually grabbed the body and injected a bunch of nanomachines within it, turning her into a cyborg, which makes more sense. And it's a little bit weird, but I think she may have been a precursor to Data for Next Generation, because this movie did come out in the 70s. So anyway, they came up. So anyway, Spock, Kirk, and Decker come up with the idea that maybe through her she can actually release Ilea's memories to find out what they can about V'ger. And so they have Decker show her around the ship. During this time, Spock actually steals a spacesuit and actually goes out and decides to venture further into V'ger's spaceship. So now they know the name of the captor and the ship, and of course the alien ship is just less than an hour away from Earth. Talk about risking it. They're cutting it close at this point. So Spock actually uses a rocket propulsion system and shoots right into the next chamber, and we see vast holograms, nothing but massive images. The machine homeworld where V'ger came from, stars, planets, moons, whole galaxies. It dawns upon Spock that V'ger has been traveling the entire universe at this point and has seen everything. So he's been traveling the universe for, say, millions of years. It's unconfirmed at this point, but supposedly there's a theory going around that V'ger has been traveling billions of years into the universe and has documented everything and now wants to return to Earth. The actual reason is he's returning to Earth, he's trying to go to Earth to look for his creator, which is weird because, okay, he's been wandering his own universe for millions of years, and what, you're saying that his creator's from Earth? It's kind of weird. Next thing you're gonna tell me, his creator is an engineer from Earth, from the from the Prometheus franchise. I say Prometheus, not Alien, because let's face it, Prometheus and Alien Covenant are not canon to that fucking franchise. I heard about the little thing that happened in Alien Romulus, but that's just a fucking coincidence. And honestly, let's be honest, they didn't really want to distance themselves from the Prometheus films, because those films fucking sucked. So anyway, Spock ventures deeper. He sees a giant, massive hologram of Ilia and the sensor probe that's actually on her neck, which is this little thing right here. See that little red dot there? That's the sensor orb to collect all the data. He tries to mind meld with it, and his brain gets overloaded, and he shoots back out to the ship, back to the Enterprise. Kirk comes out to actually try to intercept him, and Spock's out cold. They examine Spock, and he's okay, but he makes a startling discovery about V'ger. V'ger doesn't know anything about life, particularly. All he knows is about information and wanting more. So he doesn't know like the basic necessities. Like for example, the scene actually shows like Spock holding Kirk's hand, like so. It's like this. V'ger does not know this. Like the simple act of touching and feeling. He doesn't know anything about that. It's just a machine. For crying out loud. Anyway, so yeah. His speculations about V'ger was mostly true. It's a very intelligent life form, but unfortunately, it wants to know more. But it's a machine that doesn't know anything, like the simple necessities. Wait a second. This is all starting to sound a little bit familiar. All right, this sounds more like Brainiac's storyline from the Superman comics. And Brainiac is going to make his appearance in the next Superman film coming out next year. Holy shit! Is it possible maybe that the creators of the movie actually took liberties from Brainiac? Nah, that's probably just a coincidence. So V'ger eventually makes it to Earth, and well, Captain puts everything on full alert. Starfleet's now on full alert. Now they're now the Enterprise is talking to Starfleet because now they're in close range to it for once. But V'ger now sends out a signal to them to actually look for its creator, wait for the creator to respond, and to Spock. And while Spock he's now on a medical, he checks his instruments, and to his shock, he discovers that the signal he's sending out is binary via radio waves. Everybody's just looking at him like, "What? Wait, what? Wait, V'ger's got to be millions of years old. Is he using binary radio waves? Let me check. Captain. He's using radio waves. Spock, we haven't used our race hasn't. I mean, Earth hasn't used radio waves in over 300 years. Wait a minute. So he's from Earth originally? Well, that's what he said. Huh? Well, that's what V'ger's been saying. Wait a second, something's not right here. Anyway, Beecher starts launching out torpedoes because it can't get an answer from its creator, so it assumes all the life forms on the planet are actually the reason why, and they suppress its creator. And the torpedoes are hundreds of times more powerful, and they're over strategic locations on Earth where they can wipe out all of existence. So, anyway, Kirk, being the diplomat that he is, actually makes a bluff to V'ger. Yeah, in a Starfleet diplomatic way as possible. Yeah, he basically tells V'ger to back off and tell him they can actually help him look for the creator, but wiping out all life forms is not going to work. You see, in V'ger's eyes, all carbon-based units are not true life forms, but Kirk actually corrects him on this. Actually corrects V'ger on this mistake because saying that most of the universe is full of carbon-based life forms, and he's not supposed to be the life form at all. That he's not supposed to be alive at all. This confuses V'ger, but he also is intrigued to the point that where Kirk can actually help him look for his creator. So he decides to take Kirk's bluff, and he suspends the attack for the time being. But Kirk tells him we need to talk to V'ger face to face, like literally physically be with him. So V'ger complies and actually opens the chamber to the main bridge this time around. How that works, I have no fucking idea. It was in the back end, that's in the front of the ship. I don't know. So it's a living machine at this point. God, you say Skynet is extremely complex. At least we understand what it was trying to do. So anyway, by using the tractor beam, the Enterprise is taken all the way up to V'ger's bridge, which is a huge wasteland, which is a huge metallic wasteland area, where there's a crater in the middle where V'ger happens to be. So the Ilea probe takes Kirk, so McCoy, and Spock, and of course Decker wants to go along with them. So all five of them head out to meet V'ger, and we finally get to see who this V'ger guy is. Who is V'ger? It's a satellite from Earth. I'm not making this up. It's literally a satellite from Earth from the late 1960s. This is like that's V'ger, and all you hear is Ilea going, V'ger. You have got to be fucking kidding me. That's a satellite from our planet from over 300 years ago. And, wait a minute. So yeah, they go up to V'ger. They see his name is actually on a bronze panel, and the word and the letters VGER is actually readable, which is V'ger. So Kirk tries to wipe away as much of the grime as he can because there's grime on it. So he wipes it off as much as he can, and he finds out that the actual name is Voyager, Voyager 6 from the Voyager series. So they come to the conclusion, and also what Spock told them earlier about V'ger making this long journey throughout the entire universe and the machine world. It was clear they came to this conclusion. V'ger, aka Voyager 6, aka V'ger, was launched over 300 years ago from Earth to collect a lot of data. But it was absorbed by a black hole and was shot on the other side of the known universe, via a white hole, and actually made it to the machine world. The machine world actually took V'ger in and actually saw its primitive technology and nursed it back to health. And at some point, V'ger actually grew well life, like its own personality, and actually started to live on its own. And so they saw his programming was to actually take all information and return it back to its creator. But the problem is, when V'ger actually went to the machine world, supposedly this happened millions of years. It was shot back millions of years ago in the past. Black holes are like a huge problem. There's actually there's actually a huge amount of time traveling involved in it, but it's never been proven. So V'ger actually went to the past and started, and with that massive ship of his, actually explored the entire universe after several million years or billions of years at this point, and actually decided to make his way back to Earth. But the problem is, V'ger showed up 300 years in Earth's present future, in Earth's future, where it's actually from 300 years into the past. Talk about overdoing it. So why? And V'ger wants to meet its creator so it can actually join with its creator. So in a sense, it's looking for its god. We have a machine looking for its god. What the fuck? Sorry, that's like a whole load of information to take in. And it's just beyond fucking crazy. It's ridiculously crazy. But Kirk actually contacts Uhura and actually tries to get all the gets all the information about Voyager 6 and actually so they can use the download code, but they have to do it via binary code and via radio frequency, which the Enterprise is capable of actually doing. The only reason why the creator has never answered back to V'ger is wasn't because of the carbon-based life forms. It's because of the fact it's using an old frequency that the Earth hasn't used in over 300 years. So Kirk basically tells V'ger that it's originally from, yes, it's from Earth, but it's from Earth 300 years ago, and humanity is the one who created him. He doesn't believe it at all until Kirk actually tells her to actually start downloading the transponder codes so it can start downloading all of its information. And this, okay, we don't see V'ger's expression because it's the giant satellite, but V'ger is beyond overwhelmed to even understand the fact that it was created by humans, and it basically, oh my god, now that I think about it, it's been doing this. It's been traveling the universe for for several billion years or millions of years. Can you imagine how many planets it's destroyed? And it just realized that carbon-based life forms created it and killed countless amounts of. Wow! Oh my god! He is Brainiac! Feature basically is Brainiac at this point. Jesus Christ! Okay, joking aside, there actually is an episode of Star Trek in the original show where they have a small satellite about maybe yay big, and it actually once goes on the Enterprise and actually destroys several planets though, and it winds up killing itself once to figure out what it did was inhumane. So yeah, there's that. So eventually, so before the final transponder code can actually be entered in, V'ger actually burns out its circuits. So Spock actually notices it because he just did it because he wants the creator to be there and have the creator touch him so he can actually know what it's like to actually be with the creator. It wants to evolve. So V'ger basically wants to evolve into a higher being to go beyond what was programmed to do. Uh, so Decker basically does the most insane thing he actually has done. He basically goes over to the machine, goes over to V'ger, and wires it back together. The others try to stop him, but like Ilia basically stops everybody from trying to stop him because well, Decker wants this. Kirk wanted the Enterprise. Decker wants this. And so once the final code is complete, V'ger and Decker get fully absorbed. The energy from Decker it comes from it starts coming out of Decker. They start to fuse, and Ilia fuses in with him because it needs a female perspective too, not just the male. And the energy is just too much, and it starts overloading the entire ship. McCoy, Kirk, and Spock bolt out of there and get back to the Enterprise. And V'ger's entire ship just blows right up with a massive amount of energy that it's no longer there anymore. The Enterprise comes out of the explosions unscathed, and humanity is now safe once again. Uh, Kirk comes to the conclusion that they just witnessed the birth of a brand new life form, which, of course, is humanity and cybernetics working together. And wait, humanity and cybernetics working together. Did V'ger just create the fucking Borg? You know, the Borg, literally the the most deadliest enemies in Star Trek history. You know those cyborg zombie things. Yeah, that's what they are the most dangerous villains in the franchise. And I gotta look at this real quick. It is just this is just crazy. I know it's real time. I should have actually done this, but I mean, come on, there is no way in hell that V'ger created the. Um, I okay, I wasn't expecting this, but I looked up on Google and a question popped up: did V'ger create the Borg? And here's the answer. All right, I'm not going to edit this by any means. I'm just going to read it off right here. So, Star Trek Legacy, the video game, while not the origin of while not an origin of V'ger per se, this depiction does contract the other depictions of the Borg and V'ger in the video game. So, Star Trek Legacy, uh, uh, V'ger created the Borg after Captain William Decker merged with V'ger and moved out into the galaxy. Okay, so in Star Trek Legacy, the storyline of Star Trek Legacy, V'ger unknowingly created the Borg, the most deadliest enemy Starfleet has ever gone up against. You know what? This doesn't make any sense by many accounts. You know why? Because in Star Trek First Contact, the Borg actually existed because for one thing, the movie takes place in the 24th century. Then it goes back in the middle of the 21st century after the Third World War. And I really shouldn't be talking about the Third World War, seeing the fact that what things are going on right now politically, it may actually happen sooner or later. And I hope not. But the movie took place in the year 2063, just before First Contact, when humanity meets, aliens for the first time. And the Borg did exist in the Delta Quadrant. All right, but that's in the movie universe and in the main storyline timeline. But in the legacy timeline, V'ger unknowingly made them. Unbelievable. Ugh. So anyway, uh, so anyways, so, so now that the Earth is safe, Captain Kirk actually writes a report. It tells gives Starfleet a report that Lieutenant Ilia and Captain Decker are both missing, and the vessel status is fully operational. So what do? They take the vessel off for a spin. Yeah, they give it a full proper shakedown for once because they didn't actually get a chance to do that yet. So the ship goes out. So they take the ship out, and it goes right into warp speed and right into the credits. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Star Trek, the motion picture. And is it really that bad? Is it really bad? No, it's okay. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it actually did pretty well at the box office, even though the critics and the audience are were split upon it a little bit, though. But for one thing, the visuals are really nice. And to be fair, the cloud sequence, when they actually go through all that stuff and seriously, all the set designs, yeah, I mean, they really ranked in a lot in this one. So it actually did pretty well, surprisingly. But don't worry, this wasn't the only Star Trek film. I mean, with the original cast members, there was at least There were six movies, and of course, after the sixth movie, they actually had the seventh movie come out, and they used the Next Generation cast for the next four films. And then we have the reboot film series, which is another three films. So there was supposed to be a fourth one, unfortunately, but the actor who played Chekhov sadly passed away before the film was released. So last minute post production, they actually decorated the film. They actually dedicated the movie to him. So yeah, that's nice to know. So this is I'm a little bit split on this movie because this is actually mostly for hardcore Star Trek fans to get into it though, and for sci-fi fans, it's also pretty interesting too. But if you're just a regular Joe trying to watch the movie or trying to get into Star Trek, just watch the show first before you watch this film. You're gonna get beyond confused at this point. But there is some really good news. The next film that came out after that, because the next film that came out after this one was the greatest Star Trek film of all time, and still is arguably the greatest Star Trek film of all time by the critics and the fans and the general going movie audience. Unfortunately, that's not the next film I'm going to review. Now, next time, I have to do a horror film. Two horror films, to be more precise, because next month is October, and I go crazy in October. It's my favorite time of year. To the next time, and we're going back to hell. twice. Wait, you guys didn't get that joke? Oh, for God's sake, I'm doing Hellraiser 1 and 2 next week, all right? Until then, you all take care and live long and prosper. Fear Frank out.